Hi everyone, it's me, Krista. Welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. If not, welcome for the very first time to my little art corner here on YouTube. Today is day 29 of Inktober. I cannot believe that after this there are only 2 days left. Today's prompt is injured. For this prompt, I immediately thought of doing a bird with an arrow going through its chest. I was originally going to do the more traditional route of a swallow with the arrow protruding through its chest. But when I was Googling reference images, I just typed in bird with arrow, and it showed me a photo of a hawk that was chilling on top of a line or something. And there's so much power to me in those kind of birds, the predatory big birds like that, and I've never really drawn any of them. And I've always kind of wanted to, so my idea shifted as soon as I saw that photo. And that's what I decided to do, and I'm going with it. I am again using the Strathmore mixed media paper in toned blue. I initially set up the sketch using a Bic Mechanical Pencil. At this point in the drawing, I am going over the sketch lines I have set up with a gel pen, specifically a Pentel Arts Hybrid Technica pen. It's a black pen, and it is 0.4 millimeters. I like this pen because if you get it wet, it does not smear the ink, and I also like the thickness. It seems to be that perfect width of not being too skinny, but not being too thick. After I got that in, I started going in with the same white Posca pen that I've been using. This has held out for quite a while. I've been using it for most of these projects, if not all of them, and it has not run out of the paint yet, so that's pretty fancy. To add some lighter grays, I go in with a Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen. It is a bullet nib one in white 101. It is 1.5 size-wise. I am using this one to get a light gray in. It is technically a white, but since I'm going over gray paper, it ends up being a very pale gray color, because this one is not very opaque. It can be opaque if you build on it, but sometimes you can use the fact that it's sheer to your advantage in other ways. I also start pulling in some other markers. I start pulling in another Faber-Castell Artist pen, one of the Pitt ones, and this one is in warm gray, and this is a small brush pen. This one ends up being a darker gray that I pull in, and I also pull in the Kuretake Zig Clean Color Dot marker that I have as well. That one is in the color platinum, and it is a lighter gray than the warm gray, but it is darker than the paper, but not too much. Basically, I'm just pulling in a couple of different grays and the whites and whatnot and playing around with it, having fun. I also pull in a black Kuretake marker. It has a very small flexible nib. I don't know exactly which one it is, but I like it. These ones I have that are all in Japanese, I love them. They work really well for what I use them for. Here I did make a mistake. I pulled in an Ecoline watercolor marker. This one is in a gray color. I forget that I'm not a huge fan of these markers. I really enjoy the little pots of the watercolor, the little inkwell jars that they make. I just don't like these markers very well. I forgot that this one in particular has an issue where the nib sheds really badly. I have a feeling these would be great for doing something like calligraphy. They just don't work for me and my process and how I like to work with markers and watercolor markers in general. Not a fan. If you like them, that's great. If they work for you, awesome. More power to ya. We're all going to have different opinions on art supplies, and we're all going to use them in different ways, and our techniques are going to be different, and certain items might work for me that don't work for you, and vice versa. It's just part of life. At this point, after I've let that background dry a little bit, I am working more on the bird itself. I'm just going in between the different markers that I have already pulled in there. I also go over the main outline of the bird and some other areas with that black gel pen again. I wanted to try to keep some thinner lines in the black, especially because I end up outlining him again in white. And the main reason I do that is because the background gets quite a bit darker. The background for this one was a little bit of a struggle for a minute. At first I was doing vertical lines with like a bunch of different markers, and I didn't really care for how it looked for this specific piece. Just was not a huge fan of it. And I also tried using the different markers and playing around with them, and I tried like heck to make that Ecoline Brush Pen one work for me. Just didn't. It's just how it goes. I end up going through a couple of different markers, layering it a few different ways, and I end up deciding to use the Faber-Castell Warm Gray Pitt marker, the small brush one, to go over the whole background to make it quite a bit deeper. But before that, I mess around with different things to see what will stick for me. I also even pull in a light blue Copic pen because I don't know. I said Copic pen, didn't I? I mean Copic marker. It's a Copic sketch marker. I thought it might help with the background by blending it out fairly well, because they can do that. It just wasn't quite working. Here I start pulling in a Sakura jelly roll to help outline everything a little bit. I wanted to add a little bit of white because the background was progressively getting darker at this point, and doing that was also helping to fix my little arrow mishaps that kept happening this entire time. As I said before, most mistakes you can fix, especially when you're layering a lot like this. It might not be a perfect fix, but you can make it look a heck of a lot better by finagling and pushing things around. Layers are your friend. And as you'll see here, a very good chunk of the drawing is just me playing around with the background and adjusting everything and figuring out what I want to do. Another mistake I was making was layering marker upon marker a little too quickly with the background. I wasn't exactly letting every layer dry in between, which that can muddy up things later when you're trying to fix it or adjust things. So I end up making sure that I use a hairdryer for this part to help that dry more quickly, so I can go through and use that gel pen to help do the outlines. And then, so when I pull in the warm gray marker again, it isn't exactly blending in with all the other layers I have going on. When it's still wet, they're going to blend together and get a little muddy and weird, but when it's dry, you can typically go over it and cover things up. But here at this point, I'm just going over the outlines I already have in using the white gel pen. Wanted to help our little birdie stand out that much more. And also later, I go over the same outline using the Faber-Castell marker in white. I wanted those lines to be a little bit thicker, and using that as well, it helps brighten it up a little bit, but it also gives a almost blending effect going on doing that. And this is the point where I go, okay, I hate the background, let's just cover it all in that darker warm gray as much as possible. And that is what I do. I just realized that I didn't really use very much straight black in this drawing. I did in a couple sections, but compared to some of the other Inktober ones, there's really not that much. And that warm gray on that background with the toned paper already gets fairly dark. It looks black to me, at least in person. And I must have subconsciously realized that I hadn't done that many white dots in a moment, so I start using the Faber-Castell Pitt pen in white and go dotting. I also use it to help brighten up some areas that got lost when I colored in that background. So many little tiny dots. It was also kind of funny because I was listening to System of a Down while I was doing the dotting part, and I noticed that at a certain point I was literally doing the dots to the music, basically. I was following the rhythm, which I don't normally do, because I don't really have any rhythm. I also start doing some white lines going vertically from some of the areas of the white outline I have around the bird. I really liked this effect. I feel like it gives this bird almost a supernatural quality, as though maybe it's a spirit that wants to get revenge into that storyline. But yeah, this here drawing is almost done, just like Inktober is almost done, which is insane. If you liked this video, please hit that like button. If you have any comments, questions, feelings, or concerns, or you want to let me know what you've been making this Inktober, what supplies you've been using, what are some of the challenges you've come across, please let me know in that comment section down below. If you want to see more videos like this, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day or night to watch this video, and I do want to thank everybody who's been watching videos this month. Inktober has been awesome. I appreciate every single one of you that have been watching these videos, liking these videos, subscribing. Thank you so very much. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. I look forward to hearing from you soon, and you'll definitely be hearing from me soon. Bye, everybody!